Hello and welcome to Calypten News, your one-stop for short and precise global news every day. Let's start today's briefing. NATO adopts 5% GDP defense spending target. NATO members pledged 5% GDP defense spending after US pressure. Canada's PM Carney confirmed compliance by 2035, but Spain's refusal triggered Trump's tariff warnings. The move aims to counter Russian and Iranian threats, reshaping alliance fiscal priorities amid escalating global conflicts. Iran suspends cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog. Iran suspended IAEA collaboration in retaliation for US strikes targeting Fordow and Natanz sites. Early assessments indicate months-long delays, not destruction, of nuclear capabilities. The UN seeks damage verification amid Tehran's vow to rebuild, stronger than before, escalating nuclear tensions. Israel-Iran ceasefire holds despite minor violations. A fragile Israel-Iran ceasefire entered its third day with isolated drone violations reported. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will lead negotiations in Oman to formalize terms. Regional stability hinges on Tehran restraining proxy militias and halting nuclear reconstitution efforts. Heatwave kills 130 plus in UK, London extends alerts. Britain's deadliest heatwave in a decade killed over 130 people, overwhelming emergency services. London issued extreme heat alerts as temperatures hit 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists attribute the crisis to climate change-driven heat domes, with similar conditions forecast for France and Germany. Canada battles wildfires amid extreme heat. Raging Canadian wildfires destroyed 200-plus homes in Alberta, fueled by 40 degrees Celsius heat and drought. Ontario declared a state of emergency as smoke blanketed Toronto. The military deployed water bombers, while PM Carney linked the disaster to accelerating climate breakdown. Deadly floods in India's Himachal Pradesh. Himachal Pradesh's Kangra Valley saw catastrophic flooding after overnight cloudbursts. Rescue teams recovered 2 bodies, while 20 remain missing. The region's infrastructure suffered severe damage, highlighting vulnerabilities to extreme weather intensified by Himalayan glacial melt. Google launches Gemini CLI for developers. Google unveiled Gemini CLI, an AI-powered developer toolkit enabling code generation and debugging. Concurrently, it backed 15 African AI startups in agritech and healthtech. Analysts note this expands Google's dominance in emergent AI markets amid rivalry with OpenAI's DevKit. IBM targets fault-tolerant quantum computers by 2029. IBM announced a 2029 launch for error-corrected quantum computers, surpassing current prototypes' limitations. The systems will tackle pharmaceutical and cryptography challenges unreachable by classical supercomputers, positioning IBM ahead of Honeywell and Google in the quantum race. Vietnam abolishes death penalty for embezzlement. Vietnam eliminated capital punishment for embezzlement among 8 crimes, potentially commuting Trong My Lan's sentence. The tycoon's trial exposed systemic corruption, prompting public pressure for judicial reform. Critics argue the change benefits elites over dissidents. Kenya protests over police brutality leave 8 dead. Kenyan police fired live rounds at protesters demanding accountability for brutality, killing 8. The unrest began after officers murdered a 19-year-old during tuition hikes protests. The UN condemned excessive force, but President Ruto defended security agencies. Neeraj Chopra wins javelin gold in Ostrava. India's Neeraj Chopra dominated the Ostrava javelin event with an 85.29 meters throw, defeating Germany's Julian Weber. This marks his 3rd consecutive win in 2025, bolstering his Olympic title defense prospects ahead of Paris. Iran executes 3 over alleged Israeli espionage. Iran executed 3 citizens for alleged espionage ties to Israel, amplifying hostilities amid US-Iran nuclear tensions. The executions coincided with Iran's suspension of IAEA cooperation, signaling a hardline stance against perceived Western infiltration. Human rights groups condemned the trials as opaque. Brazil holds historic trial of military coup plotters. Brazil's Supreme Court confronted disgraced military officers in a landmark trial over a 2022 coup attempt. Colonel Mauro Cid testified against General Augusto Heleno, revealing plans to annul election results. The case highlights lingering far-right extremism in Brazil's armed forces. Mexico deploys armed drones against cartels in Chiapas. Mexican police deployed weaponized drones in Chiapas to counter cartels dominating trafficking routes. The move follows cartel use of bomb-dropping drones, escalating an aerial arms race. Critics warn of civilian risks, while officials cite asymmetric warfare necessities. UK's Starmer faces rebellion over welfare cuts. Britain's Labour government faces its largest rebellion as MPs reject Starmer's welfare reform bill targeting disability payments. Chancellor Rachel Reeves argued cuts were fiscally essential, but backbenchers called it morally indefensible amid a cost of living crisis. Swiss glaciers show Swiss cheese melt holes. Unprecedented Swiss cheese holes appeared in Switzerland's glaciers due to climate-driven melting. The Rhone glacier lost 10% of its mass in 2024 alone, jeopardizing hydropower and rivers supplying European agriculture. Scientists call it a tipping point for alpine ecosystems. Heatwave kills 130 plus in UK, London extends alerts. A climate change-fueled heat dome killed 130 plus people in the UK, with London declaring an emergency response level. Rail networks buckled, and hospitals cancelled non-urgent surgeries. The Met Office linked the event to Atlantic current shifts. Vietnam abolishes death penalty for 8 crimes. Vietnam's legal overhaul removed the death penalty for non-violent crimes, potentially commuting 100-plus sentences. Critics note the timing benefits elites like Trong My Lan, whose trial exposed systemic corruption. The UN praised the move but urged broader reforms. Armenia arrests Archbishop for plotting coup. Armenia detained Archbishop Galstanian, accused of mobilizing protesters to seize parliament, amidst a power struggle between the church and PM Pashinyan. The church denounced the arrest as Soviet-style repression, exacerbating the country's political crisis. UK buys nuclear-capable F-35 jets for NATO mission. Britain's F-35 purchase strengthens NATO's nuclear umbrella amid rising Russia-Iran threats. The jets will operate from Cyprus, enabling strikes in the Middle East. Critics warn it escalates arms races, while ministers call it essential for collective security. Pope Leo XIV affirms celibacy, demands abuse action. The new pope solidified Catholic doctrine on celibacy while mandating bishops report abuse cases directly to the Vatican. His dual focus on doctrine and accountability responds to global scandals but disappointed reform advocates. That is all for today. See you next time. If you find our news to be useful, don't forget to drop a comment and subscribe to our channel.